Hello, hello, Soulful Seekers. Welcome back to Soulreign. Today, I've got a different style of guest for you, one that is really educated in a way that we haven't yet had the opportunity to explore. And I'm going to leave that to Dr. Amé Foster to explain the depth of that for us. Welcome, Amé.
Thank you. Yes, Amy, if you want to try the French pronunciation of it, or just hey you sometimes too. I respond to it all. So, yes, I have my PhD in applied psychophysiology, but my journey started many, many years ago in a different path where I did social work for a number of years and also worked in the mental health field. And that started my
That's
journey
tough
because as
work.
much as I did
Those
love
are
that
tough
work, I
fields to
started
work
to
in because
feel
you're seeing
some
people at their
burnout
most desperate, difficult
and
days and times in their
tough
life.
work.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And while very rewarding and challenging, I knew that I wanted to get a little deeper and have more understanding as to how people can heal and face and move forward from those challenges and traumas that they were facing and experiencing in life. And on a personal journey myself in some ways of that. So selfishly for personal and professional reasons, then worked towards different avenues I could explore.
Let's
And
start with how do you
that looked like
explain
many different things.
psychophysiology? What does that even mean or entail?
Yes. So when I started, I didn't know what psychophysiology was. So where I started that journey was actually in yoga. And so I started practicing yoga as a student and then became so in love with that practice, became a certified teacher. And that is when I first learned about psychophysiology, or what some might refer to as the mind body medicine or mind body connection. And yoga takes that practice of psychophysiology, which is that mental and emotional component and the physical component, with both the exercise for your physical body and the meditative component for your mental and emotional side. So, with that practice, I really learned the awareness
Yeah.
that we need
Nothing
to
will put you in
develop
awareness like being in downward dog and having a
between
bad
our
time or
mind
aiming
and our body.
for a pose and you're finding like limitation in the body and oh boy, can the mind just suddenly kick up. Every thought you never thought you were thinking, as well as various emotions come to surface. Did you have a specific type of yoga that you really tended towards?
Not really. I kind of dabbled in all of them because all of them bring to surface these different things that, you just mentioned. So sometimes that really challenging hot yoga
Precarious.
class, you find yourself in that more vulnerable, physical state of working through that hard challenge there. And then sometimes that more yoga nidra or that yin yoga, that very slow, meditative, thoughtful, allows your mind to kind of come to a state of a little bit more rest, where then maybe you start thinking of, gee, why is this thought coming up and why is that bothering me? And really understanding that, okay, well, if this is coming up at this time for me, what is that looking like? Because that's where that awareness comes in, because we all have physiology that can change and look different depending on what our mental and emotional states are, or what we're going through, right? So I know for me, I get really sweaty palms. For some people that might be what it looks like, or maybe your heart starts racing, maybe your blood pressure gets high, your pulse rate gets really fast. And so becoming aware of these physiological changes, as well as, what are you thinking and what are you feeling emotionally,
So what was it that it was
allows us to
doing for
become
you
aware
that
of
you were like, ooh,
that mind
I
body
need to do more
connection.
of
That's
this
so
and go all the
important.
way into going for a doctorate or a bachelor? Like, how did that happen?
Yeah, so I think I started to just recognize things that I was struggling with more, that I really hadn't allowed myself to be open to. And so that led me to really want to understand that mind body connection more, and then what are ways and what are things that I can do, that I can learn for myself. But also I became super passionate about being able to help others with that. So that led me to, I had already had my bachelor's and master's at this point. That led me to my PhD program, which really did keep that scientific brain, but also brought in that holistic aspect of mind body medicine. And that really allowed me to fully explore that range of mind body medicine practices, of psychophysiology, and of these different methods that we could use to really become aware and strengthen
So for the
that
average
connection for
person,
both mental and
why was
physical
that
healing.
important to incorporate?
I think for the average person, because we see a lot in terms of whether you're in the mental health field or you're a person that is going to mental health therapy, or whether you're a person that is struggling with physical ailments, or you're a medical practitioner, when you see someone or you are that person experiencing anxiety, if you just go at it from the angle of how can I fix this? How can I treat this? Sometimes we don't get the full viewpoint of exactly what that means, to not just put a band-aid on it and sort of muddle through and cope, but how do we actually heal what's the cause and not just the symptoms? And I think if we're the person that's experiencing that, when we're open to that, which can sometimes be extremely challenging and scary, you have to put yourself in a place where you feel ready to do that, because a lot of times that's not an easy journey of healing from our trauma. When you put yourself in that place of being ready to open that door and become aware of why you might be experiencing those symptoms, then I think that's when true healing can begin. And if you can find someone who can work with you, in tandem with that same goal, then, of course, that's when
I agree.
real
Yeah.
progress and healing can be
And in
made
what
on
part of
both
your
sides.
journey did Ayurveda begin to creep in?
So that just sort of encompassed everything for me that I felt passionate about with yoga and
And you're
meditation,
going to have to come back to
and,
that one in detail,
recently
because
Indian head
before I
massage.
met you, I hadn't heard of it. And it was like, what? That sounds
Along
fascinating.
Yeah, yeah, that psychophysiological side of that mental and physical connection. So to me, that Ayurvedic method of practice really keeps that holistic center of healing that mind body connection. So we're not just looking at the mental aspect and the physical, but we're really connecting them, and we're doing it in a way that's non-invasive, that
Yeah, I think it can be
is
pretty validating
not
as
creating
well.
more
So when I first
trauma,
learned about the doshas, it's like,
for the healing that you're
here I
already
am trying to
looking
fight
for.
my
Yeah.
nature, and it's like, but this is what my body is. And so it was like supremely validating to be like, I'm always going to have some of these characteristics because that's just what this machine is. So I don't have to be blaming myself. I don't have to be, self criticizing or trying to go against it. There's like a place of surrender and acceptance that I don't know that I would have gotten to without having learned about that. I don't know that this audience is particularly clear on what the doshas are, and you're welcome to go off on a tangent with that if you like, but I think it can be super validating.
Yeah, and I feel like very forgiving and flexible too, because as we know, like a healing journey isn't linear, right? It's really shifting, and there's an ebb and a flow, and we need to, give ourselves like that grace, which I feel like, these practices really also embody.
So what is Indian head massage? What does it encompass? Why would somebody go explore that?
Yeah, so it is a nice balance of that mental and emotional and physical components of healing, like we've talked about. So when you go for an Indian head massage,
I'm not going anywhere else
hopefully
than
to
you,
someone
so
who's doing it.
that's not an issue for me. But
There are.
I'm lucky enough to be local to where your practice is.
Yeah, so you want someone, so in my practice, you're using that breath work at the beginning. So you are grounding yourself in that moment, using your breath to control that heart rate, that pulse rate, and really allowing your body to open up to the healing of that moment within that practice. So it's a breath in through the nose and filling of the belly, and then gently exhaling through the mouth.
It's got a component of cleansing to it when you're exhaling through the mouth. That's
Really,
a deeper releasing.
yes, exactly. And really then letting your body come to a safe place of rest there, where during the bulk of that appointment, then with the head massage, of using those gentle acupressure points on the face and the head, allowing those stress points to be gently touched and released, hopefully. And then at the end, so like having a bookend to that is a slight meditative component that I walk you through. And that really has a purpose of sort of letting that controlled breath work at the beginning and the massage component with those acupressure points fully settle in physically, and then giving your mind also some time to process.
So
that
I'm wondering,
that healing that it just
specific
received.
protocols that you work with for different things when you're working with the acupressure points? When I went through my education, we did auriculotherapy, and there were like specific spots that we would stimulate for weight, for appetite, for better sleep, digestion, including giving up habits like quitting smoking. Is there similar stuff to that in Indian head massage?
Yeah, so there's similar points that can be pressed within the head and the face, including the ears. Yeah, for those different things.
But then they're not having to wear like ear seeds all over their face or anything. You're just stimulating the spot. Yeah, that's a pretty good perk. You don't have to be walking around and pressing these things all the time to trigger off those points. So that's a good benefit to that. So what kind of relief or solutions are people coming for when they're seeking your services?
Yeah, it can, span a wide range, but I would say in general, long-term illness, it's very good healing long-term illness, anxiety, depression, disturbed sleep or insomnia, migraines or headaches. And if you're struggling with sinus issues, whatever that might be. So all those types of things, or just general relaxation. If you're feeling a high level of stress and you just need a little bit of relaxation
and so primarily
alignment
you're working
there.
in person?
Yeah. Yes, primarily in person for that, and the psychophysiology as well. So in person mostly, because they're obviously Indian head massage. I have to have the client there, physically work with them. Yeah. And then the psychophysiology component, there is the interaction in person, And some things can be done over the phone or over Zoom. There's also, if we're getting into certain aspects of, HRV, meaning like heart rate variability, and we're looking into that, the breath work or that meditation component, along with, maybe some other physiological components that need to be talked about, whether it's like in-depth nutrition or, referrals made outside to other practitioners. So some of these things can be done long distance, but then some of them, if we're really looking at addressing some
And who are your
physiology in
favorite people
person.
to work with? What kinds of things are they looking to break through or resolve, or what kind of results have you seen?
Don't know if I really have a favorite. I feel like everything brings its own challenge and excitement in terms of, the different clients that you work with. But I would say that that moment at the end of a session, whether we're talking psychophysiology or Indian head massage, when they say, "I feel so much better," that's always the goal. And that's always what makes you, as a practitioner, smile and feel like you're having a positive,
Absolutely.
experience with
And
your
so
practice.
you've just completed a series of booklets. Do you want to tell us a little bit more about that?
So the series of booklets is with the nonprofit that I work for, which is a psychophysiology nonprofit. And we do all types of psychophysiology, including biofeedback and
Yeah.
QEEG brain mapping and Ayurvedic methods. So my booklet is focusing on the Ayurvedic methods within mind body medicine practices. And then we have these other biofeedback and EEG and muscle tension, different things, which if you're a practitioner looking to maybe expand your practice would be interesting, or if you're an individual that's really looking into other methods that might be helpful on your healing journey. I feel like you can find something that
If
might fit your
there
needs
was
or be
a
of interest.
general piece of advice that you would give people today who are just trying to feel better, what are some things that they can look at for themselves on a daily basis that you'd recommend?
I would say once we realize that we are holding and carrying trauma, and that it's usually something that we weren't asked to carry, but it's living inside of our bodies or living inside of our minds. Becoming aware of that and then wanting to understand that starts with that mind body connection. Whether you're holding that trauma physically or whether you're holding it mentally or emotionally, locating it, and then knowing that there's a connection between your mind and your body, and becoming aware of that connection and then wanting to strengthen that will really create and promote more healing. And that can look like many different things, but some of these mind body medicine practices, if you're open to it, really can be a non-invasive, non-intrusive way of welcoming gentle healing and really making it individualized, because everyone's journey looks different and that changes even individually every day as to how much we might be able to experience that day. And maybe we just need a coping strategy that day because our threshold is really low. We're dealing with other factors in life that are really stressful, and we just need to remind our bodies how to breathe, to regulate ourselves throughout the day, or whether it's a deeper time for healing. But just realizing that connection between your mind and your body is a powerful thing. And knowing that there are
It's
methods
huge.
and
I think
practices out there
as a
that can
society, it's very kind of normalized now for people to just be living outside of their bodies. And that's why people are caught scrolling on TikTok all day and all of the social medias, they're just outside of their bodies. So they don't even feel the effects
Mhm.
of what they're doing because they're not in there. And
Mhm.
that is what trauma does. It takes us out of the
Mhm.
body. And so from what you've just
Mhm.
said, what I'm understanding is come
Mhm.
back to the body, be in the body, and then pick up on the clues of, wow, what does this need today? And
Mhm.
oh, what is this weird sensation I'm feeling? What does, how am I going to support that or
Mhm.
maybe ameliorate that?
Yes, exactly. Yeah, just kind of checking in with yourself every day, checking in with yourself in your mind. How am I doing, mentally today? How am I doing physically today? Yeah, just checking in with yourself and bringing that awareness back to yourself
Yeah, we really can't
and
fix what we're not
starting
present
there.
with. I might be biased
Yeah,
because hypnotherapy,
exactly.
that's primarily what I do is take the unconscious and shift it to conscious, and solve the problems at the unconscious. So I'm entirely biased, but I find that is a huge piece of it. If you're not aware of it, there's no way you're going to make it better or understand it. So that's got to come first. Do you have
Mhm.
any favorite practices that help people
Mhm.
become a little more present?
Yeah, I think two things. I think breath work can
Now,
be
there are a
very
lot of different
beneficial.
kinds of breath work. So if we were to dig in specifically, what type of breath work are
Mhm.
you looking at?
Mhm. Yeah, I would say just especially if we're starting out, just a simple breath work with counting. So I think a good one is a deep inhale and counting to 4 and then pause in a deep exhale to 5 or 6 and whatever you feel most comfortable with. So we're sort of really keeping the same. We're breathing in 5, exhaling 5. If you can go longer, terrific. If not, that's absolutely fine. So just that controlled breath work um, there with a simple count, I think is a great place for people to start meditation. And that is also, there's
Yeah.
a lot of different types of meditation too. And like you said with breath work, and I think finding whatever meditation might work for you. Some people, it's a couple minutes and they're like, that's all I can do. And some it's they need a long, 30-minute. For others, it can be very triggering to, I know, do meditation at times. And so, maybe you don't want the quiet of the meditation, but you want a scripted walkthrough meditation of maybe positive mantras or, just a realignment of the chakras, whatever. There's so many different aspects there. So really thinking about what you might benefit from the most, what type of meditation. But meditation, I think, is
I think for
huge for
myself,
me, at
I have to
least.
have novelty. I have to have a little bit of variability. So some days it's a very active meditation where I'm walking on the treadmill and I'm just kind of exploring what's coming up in mind, what sensations I'm noticing. I'm paying attention to how I'm stepping, how I'm breathing. Other times it's more of I'm in a sensory deprivation tank and I'm just observing. I've lost track of where the water begins and where I end, and that's a beautiful spot. And then other times it's more art oriented, like I'm just getting lost in flow, and that's a great
Mm-hmm.
place to be. But
Mm-hmm.
I think in terms of what you're looking at, maybe more bringing awareness in and being present with the body might be more helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. But like you said, sometimes that can take different forms. So sometimes it might be, a quiet sitting meditation that you need to do that. And then, like you said, sometimes maybe it's an active, like maybe you notice some physiology that day and you're like, I really need to put out some energy and and that's you have an active meditation that day. Or sometimes
Yeah.
maybe you need to feed your creative soul, like you said, and it's just a creative art flow, of painting or something
I think when we do that, it
artistic that's
allows a
allowing that.
bigger opportunity. And there are lots of different modalities and books out there in terms of like body talk and talking to the body. And I think it just opens that door to opportunity of, oh, I'm noticing like tension or density or heaviness or some kind of sensory
Mm-hmm.
happening in this part of the
Mm-hmm.
body. And then just taking that opportunity to be like, hey, what is this? What is that? What am I holding there? What's going on there? What are you, if you had a voice, what would you be wanting to tell me?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Creating opportunities, I think, is a great way to put it. You just want to create opportunities for your mind and for your body to become aware of what might be lingering in there or what might be at the forefront or opportunities for that connection and that healing. So I think that's a great
We're such a
concept to
weird
think about.
species. We're a species that will self-deny, will feel something and then will immediately diminish it. Do you have any advice for how to not do that, or to take the sensory information we get and actually make use of it in a way that's going to be helpful and not self-denying?
Yeah, I honestly think that a huge part of this is creating habit through practice. So, if we really allow ourselves to become aware of ourselves mentally, emotionally, physically, then that will create a habit of recognition, but also belief in ourselves. And then we can truly stop questioning, well, maybe I don't really feel that way. Well, take that moment, take those breaths, and then tell yourself, no, I do really feel that way. And then you're able to also take the direction of, why do I feel that way? Or why do I have that thought? But really creating that habit of belief in yourself. And that
Yeah,
just comes through
that's the thing
practice.
no one ever wants to hear. Yeah, time on task and repetition. Fun.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
is what it is, though. And I think it is important to do, because if we're in that habit of diminishing or denying or not really looking at, then we can get into big trouble and we can miss out on things, especially earlier on. Yeah.
And I think too, just remembering that you are the expert of yourself. So, we really need to give ourselves more credit, I think, than we normally do on the average. And just know that, you know, you have been yourself your entire life and you are the expert
I think that really
of
is key,
yourself.
because it's not just lately, but it seems like there's been an uptick lately of people who have had like medical gaslighting. And it's at the point where they're doubting themselves. And so they're going and getting like 3 and 4 opinions and still not finding a solution for what's happening in the body. And you've got physicians who are outright telling them, like, there's nothing wrong here. And then this one
Hmm.
specific lady that I'm aware of, there was something wrong. She did actually have to go and get
Hmm.
more opinions. And what they found was, there were doctors all over the place with differing opinions. And she does actually have something that needs to be
Hmm.
treated now, urgently. And it's like,
Hmm.
goodness, had she
Hmm.
not stuck with it? And there were moments where she became kind of confused of, well, maybe they're right. They're the professional. Like, what a tough situation. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. I have heard of those individuals too. And myself, I had a very small experience with something like that, but where, they did this test and that test and they didn't find anything there. And then I saw an ENT doctor, and within 5 minutes of talking to me, he said, "Oh no, they missed the mark. It's this." And then he said the symptoms, and I'm like, "Yes, that's exactly what I've been experiencing." And with small surgery,
Wow. But it
corrected
did
it.
need a surgical
And
intervention.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. And I just and like you said, after a little bit, I started to think, well, maybe there is nothing. No, no, there is. And so we just have to sometimes be persistent and just know that we are the inhabitants within our bodies and within our minds, and we are the experts there.
A big part of this channel is sovereignty. And that means self advocating in medical situations. And I think that's just so
Absolutely.
key, because there's not going to be anybody else to come in and to do that for us. And that is
Hmm.
our privilege. That is
Hmm.
our responsibility. That is the one thing that
Hmm.
we get to do for ourselves. So, really
Hmm.
taking ownership of, this is what I'm feeling in this body. I don't care what anybody else is. I'm living with this kind of thing. And then choosing to take action really is everything.
Hmm. Yes,
And it sounds like
absolutely.
that's how you help people in a larger degree, because they have to come home to themselves and to really be there with what is, to start to track that.
Hmm. Yeah, exactly. I think giving ourselves the tools where we can really find our individual power and strength and have that journey of healing through knowing that we are in charge of that and we hold that power within ourselves and not giving that over to anyone else, but taking
Because
ownership
at the
of
end of the
that.
day, when you get those medical opinions, they're not the ones that are going to be living with the outcome.
Yes, exactly. And ultimately, we want to all experience as much positivity in our own journeys in life, right? So being able to feel like we have as much control over that when so many things are out of our control, I think is a huge important component of this. A practitioner, that is my goal, is to try to lend people the healing services, the tools, and just that inner strength that's there in order to continue on themselves and wherever they are in life and where they can feel like a positive individual. Because as we know, you never know when the next bump is going to come. Yeah.
And you want to be able to have as much choice as possible and a sense of agency.
Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
So, what would you say is next for you on your journey and on your studies? Is there anything that's kind of
That's a
coming up
great
that you're
question.
interested in learning or exploring, or something that piques your interest?
Yeah, I think there's always something. I think that at the moment, I think I'm really trying to expand my research knowledge. So I help to manage a research journal, and I'm just reading lots of articles and just really trying to grasp as much knowledge there of psychophysiology extensions, of mind body medicine that I can. And I'm always trying to deepen my meditation and my professional meditation practitioner abilities. And so I'm always looking for new tools and workshops and experiences that might help me, because then really I find that I can really put that into practice for others as well. So I think currently
Yeah.
in the journey, yeah.
Any workshops you're thinking of putting together in the future?
It's a great question. Also, I haven't thought of that yet, but I think in the future that probably will come about. I think I would love to do a yoga and meditation workshop. I think maybe a breath work and HRV workshop would be great. So maybe there'll be some things in the future.
There are so many things we can do just on our own in our own systems, and it really is a matter of a little bit of focus, attention, and I'm biased. I'm going to say dropping into self hypnosis. That's my solution for
Mhm,
everything.
mhm, mhm.
Unless I
Yes.
really am too biased, and then in that case, I'm going to go see a hypnotherapist. But I find like the amount of things that we can actually regulate and balance and change within, we're not doing it regularly, and it's just such a missed opportunity.
Mhm,
But then again,
mhm.
I grew up in an interesting household where my mom would have a headache and she'd be like, "Give me a minute," and she would just drop in and clear her headache. Or just this was a regular thing to witness, and it's like, oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and we can, when you think about
Yeah.
even with self hypnosis, there have been people who've been able to reduce blood at the dentist just by going
Mhm,
within. It's like we have access to all of our
mhm,
systems,
mhm.
and we're tuned
Yeah.
out most of the time, which is how people are walking into door frames and stubbing their toes because they're not in their body.
Yes, I love that you say that because I actually took a guided imagery course, and this professor was, I mean, for I think maybe 30 years approximately, the professional that the big hospitals in Southern California would bring in. And the surgeons had found that if he performed a guided imagery session on those that they would do surgery on, not only would the surgery go better, but they would have quicker healing after. And what an amazing thing, and if we could all tap into that.
Oh, and we can, and that's the crazy thing.
Yes, and we can.
We can. And actually, the use of hypnosis and guided imagery predated anesthesia. That used to be the main thing we would do. And because we had access to that, I know some incredible hypnotists who are incredibly brave. I'm not that level of brave. But some of them have gone through like gallbladder removal, and they chose not to have an anesthesiologist or a separate hypnotist, and they did it themselves. And I'm just like, I would like the help. But it's amazing, and it just goes to show that's that mind-body connection in play, actually. And I think we see it in ways that we don't expect. You know, when someone's had an accident and they're in shock, and so they're not aware of what their body is doing. You know, how they won't feel pain, even though there's like a huge wound, but then the moment they know about the wound, all of a sudden then there's pain. You know, it's just interesting how that can switch like that. That ability to know suddenly changes everything.
Yes.
Okay. Well, Soulful Seekers, I hope that you've learned a little something today about the mind-body connection. And Dr. Amé Foster, you are located in Northeast Ohio. Currently, you're seeing people out of the Integrated Wellness Center and other places too, I believe. How do people reach you when they want to work one-on-one or decide if your modalities might be a fit for them?
Yeah, through the Integrated Wellness Center is definitely point number one. And whether or not you're local or not, you know, setting up a connection there, in office or out of office. And I also, like I said, help to run the Behavioral Medicine Research and Training Foundation, which is that psychophysiological nonprofit. And there as well, I can be reached.
That's good to know. Well, thank you so much for your time and expertise today. It was a pleasure to get to know you a little better and to just connect and talk about my favorite topic.
Yes, thank you so much for having me.
Right. Okay. Loved ones, we'll see you next time. Stay healthy, stay happy, stay well, but most of all, stay inspired. Bye for now. And don't hop off just yet. I'm sorry.